On Crime NI tonight, an explosion at an ATM in North Belfast. We asked for your help to identify this man.
A couple terrorised by three masked men in their East Belfast home.
An assault outside a Belfast city centre nightclub. Do you recognise this man?
A County Armagh husband and wife are scammed out of £76,000.
And revving up for the motorbike season. How to stay safe on the roads this summer. A very warm welcome to Crime NI, the programme where we ask for your help to identify those responsible for crimes committed right here in Northern Ireland. I'm Wendy Austin.
And I'm Derval MacDonald. And we have plenty to get through this month. We're going to start with that aggravated burglary in East Belfast, where a husband and wife were terrified by a gang of masked men.
It's around 7 o'clock on the evening of Saturday the 12th of March this year. A married couple are settling down for the evening. The woman catches a glimpse of someone coming over the front gate. Thinking it's a visitor, she opens the door to see who it is.
The males involved in this incident were wearing black face masks. We had no doubt this was an absolutely terrifying experience for the victims of this crime. The woman challenged the males around their presence in the house and stated there was no money. The male became so irate, he started cursing and screaming at the elderly couple. The husband tried to calm things. He got up out of the couch. The offender grabs this 80-year-old male and pushes him back into the sofa. Whilst this is going on, the two accomplices remain in the hallway. The offender takes a yellow claw hammer from his waistband. He then threatens the 75-year-old female with this hammer, then smashes up the glass placemats on the table. The elderly couple at this stage were absolutely terrified. They had no idea what was going to happen next. But the males didn't get any money. The offender says to the female, "You're incredibly lucky." Elderly couple certainly didn't feel very lucky at this time. This is an absolutely appalling crime. It's critical we identify those involved to prevent this happening to another family.
Well, Inspector Pete Cunningham is with me now. Pete, that was a terrifying ordeal for that couple.
Absolutely, Wendy. A really terrifying incident for the elderly couple. They've lived most of their married life in East Belfast, and now people have forced their way into their house, threatening the elderly male and indeed wrecking parts of the house as well. There's no doubt this family will be traumatised as a result of this.
Totally. Let's go back then on the detail, the location, the time, the place.
Yeah, this happened on the 12th of March this year, and it was on My Lady's Road in East Belfast.
And we saw there in the reconstruction that three men went into this house on My Lady's Road. What do we know about them?
Yes, Wendy, three involved, but there's one male in particular we're particularly keen to know more around. This male is described as 5'10" to 5'11" in height, fairly skinny build, with a distinctive mole or beauty spot on his lip. He was wearing a dark hooded jacket, and with that, light grey Rangers tracksuit bottoms, and wearing blue and black work gloves as well.
And there were two other men in the house who stayed mostly in the hall.
Yes, that's right, Wendy. Two other males stayed in the area of the hall. Now, they would be described as being slightly shorter and similar build to the first male, and both these were seen to wear dark clothing.
But you think there were others outside who may have been acting as lookouts?
Yes, with CCTV in the area, and it does indeed show others in the area at that time. We'd be keen for anyone in that area at that time to let us know. if they've seen those males involved. Of particular interest, we have a lady possibly pushing a pram and with young children who may have been passing at the exact time the offenders were leaving the property. It would be crucial that we get to speak to that lady and any persons in that area at that time.
So you think she may well have a clue that might help you identify the gang?
That lady may have the key to the investigation around those involved.
Let's hope so, Pete. Thank you very much indeed. Pete will be back with us again later on in the programme. But if you can help the team investigating this incident, here's how to get in touch. Call Crime Stoppers now on 0800 555 111. That's 0800 555 111. Or go online, crimestoppers-uk.org. That's crimestoppers-uk.org.
Next, 3 robberies, all within 1.5 miles of each other in North Belfast. And in all 3, staff in the shops were threatened with a knife. Let's have a look at this first film. The junction of Cave Hill Road and North Circular Road, Belfast, on the 30th of January this year.
At 8:20 p.m, we have a man walking up the Cave Hill Road here in the direction of North Circular Road. He's wearing a green hoodie, which is pulled tight over his head, and a surgical mask, which is covering the most of his face. CCTV shows the man then approaching the shop and entering through the doors. The man was in the shop for about 10 minutes. He was checking his phone and looking at items on the shelves before then approaching the counter. The man asks for a packet of cigarettes. The staff member then turns around to get the packet of cigarettes, and as the cigarettes are being put through the till, the man leans forward and puts a knife through the opening in the protective screen. He actually pushes the knife right up against the staff member, causing him to jump back. You can clearly see from the CCTV overhead the knife being used. The man demands cash from the till. The staff hand over notes. The man then leaves the shop. CCTV shows the man leaving the shop and heading in this direction, down the Cave Hill Road, in the direction of the Western Road.
Fast forward 10 days to the 9th of February on the same Cave Hill Road. Once again, a man is caught on CCTV demanding money with a knife. Have a look at this. It's the 9th of February this year on the Cave Hill Road area of Belfast.
At 5:30 p.m, a man wearing a green hoodie and a face mask comes up here along the Cave Hill Road and approaches this small row of shops before entering the newsagents carrying a light-coloured cloth bag. A female member of staff is working behind the counter. The man approaches her and asks her for cigarettes, which she then turns round to get for him. The man produces a knife, threatens her with it, and then demands money from the till. The man then goes round the side of the counter as if to go behind it. The female member of staff then goes to the till and gets money out. She then places the money into the man's bag and he demands cigarettes as well. The man then leaves the shop before heading off down the Cave Hill Road.
Just 11 days later, another robbery at another shop only 1.5 miles away, this time on the Antrim Road.
On the 20th of February at about 5:30 p.m, a man wearing a blue hoodie and a surgical mask covering his face has entered a shop here on the Antrim Road, close to the junction with the Cliftonville Road. There are 2 female members of staff working in the shop. The man approaches the side of the counter. He produces a knife and threatens the staff to hand over the money or they'll be harmed. The staff members then hand over the money. When he left the store, he came out and he left, heading up the Antrim Road in the direction of Cave Hill.
Well, joining me now is Detective Inspector Kyle Corrigan. Kyle, you're very, very welcome. Now, although there are clear similarities between all 3 robberies, we have to treat each one as a separate incident. And let's start with that first one from the 30th of January. And we have a map that shows this, Kyle.
Yes, the first incident took place at a shop there at the junction of the top of the Cave Hill Road and North Circular Road.
And we have a description of the man involved then from the CCTV footage.
The man is of stocky build, wearing a green hooded top
and black and white trainers.
Well, we know the second incident took place nearby on the Cave Hill Road on the 9th of February. And here's a picture of the individual involved in that second incident on the Cave Hill Road. And finally, here's where the third incident took place on the 20th of February. Where was that, Kyle?
Yes, the third incident was at a shop close to the junction of the Antrim Road and the Cliftonville Road.
And again, you have a description of that individual.
I do, yes. This man is of stocky build, wearing a blue Under Armour hoodie and black and white trainers. Now,
these are very serious crimes, Kyle. I know you're very, very keen to get justice for both the shop owners, but also for the staff involved in these incidents who must have been traumatised.
Yes, absolutely. I think this is a horrible incident for the shop owners who are providing a great service to the local community, but also equally for the staff that were working there at the time. And I would appeal to anybody with any information in relation to the identity of the person involved in each of these incidents to make contact with Crime Stoppers.
Well, if you do recognise anyone from these robberies, from today, Crime Stoppers are offering a £2,000 reward for information leading to conviction. Kyle, you'll be back with us later on, but for now, thank you very, very much. Over to you, Wendy.
Thanks, Derval. Now, here's what's still to come tonight. Dramatic CCTV reveals the moment a device explodes at a Belfast ATM. An assault outside a city centre nightclub. Who is this man? And how to stay safe this biking season. But first, a couple in County Armagh scammed out of their life savings. They were conned into transferring more than £76,000 from their bank accounts over the phone. Now, the couple do not want to appear on camera, but have given permission for actors to tell their story.
On Sunday the 13th of March, I was making my way home from church with my husband.
Hello?
Scams can come out of the blue, and they can come by text, by email, or as in this case, on the phone. They come when you're least expecting it, and therefore you're sometimes pressurised into making decisions which you wouldn't normally make, and they can be the wrong decisions. The caller claimed to be from the fraud department of the man's bank.
He advised me that my current account was being hacked and to do something about it immediately. I told him I wasn't home and wasn't able to see my online banking through the phone.
Twice on the way home, the same number called the man's phone. This is a common tactic used by scammers to make you think that it's urgent.
Hello? He told me he was from the fraud squad and currently working with the Met Police. He advised me to open up my account. He asked me if anything looked out of the ordinary.
The victim looked up his bank account and saw a transaction for £27 coming out of his account which he hadn't made. This is a common tactic used by the scammers to make you think that the call is genuine. The fake caller was very clear about what needed to happen next.
He said you need to stop the hackers and set up a new account, which will hold your money and stop any more transfers today or tomorrow.
The fraudster gave the victim a bank account to move his money to. He gave him the account name, the sort code and the bank account number. He then told the victim to move his money into this account for safekeeping. The victim made two transfers, one for £5,580 and the other for £4,420. That's a total of £10,000. He thought he was moving into this account for safekeeping to stop the scammers from getting it. But actually, the scam had just taken place and there was more to come.
Towards the end of the conversation, the man on the phone asked if anyone else in the house used Wi-Fi to do online banking, and my husband informed them that I did.
The fraudster convinced the victim that his wife's bank account was also in danger. Thinking this to be the case, he gave the fraudster the name of his wife's bank and also her mobile number.
So about 5 minutes later, my phone rang and I answered.
Hello? Once again, the caller claimed to be from the fraud department of the women's bank, except this time he said that the Met Police were with him. Like her husband, she was told that somebody was trying to hack into her bank account and the solution was to set up a new bank account to transfer the money into.
He was very confident and reassuring to me that I was doing the right thing and not to worry. He was very well versed in what he was saying.
For added urgency and undoubtedly to make the woman panic further, they told her that £1,500 had already been taken from her account. She needed to act quickly in order to keep her money safe. The scammer talked the lady through setting up a new account. Over 2 hours, she made 7 separate transactions into this new account, thinking she was keeping her money safe.
He seemed to know how much I had and asked me to transfer amounts until my account was empty.
The couple transferred a total of £76,110. On each occasion, the couple were told that the money was safe and the money would be returned to them. The fraudsters told the couple to expect a call from their banks the following morning. When they didn't receive a call, they contacted their banks, and at that stage they realised that they were the victims of a fraud. There'd been no investigation by the bank, there'd been no investigation by the Met Police, and their money was gone.
I didn't know I was being frauded out of money. It all appeared and came across to be a legit company.
I knew at this point I'd been scammed, whereas I thought the actions I'd taken were done to protect my money.
Well, joining me now is Superintendent Gerard Pollock, who's chairman of the PSNI's partnership with Scamwise NI. Gerard, this has been such an ordeal for this couple. How have they managed it? How are they now?
It's absolutely terrible for the couple. Apart from obviously the financial impact, there's the emotional distress that's went with this and the fact that they've lost such a massive amount of money. It's obviously going to take them a significant amount of time to get over this.
I would say so indeed. It appeared very legitimate to the man and woman, and you can see why when you see that sequence of events. He could see that £27 taken out of his account on something that he didn't buy. Do you know how that very first withdrawal happened?
We do, and it's something that'll be very familiar to many of us. It all started, we believe, with the text message that the gentleman got the day before. And that text message asked him to pay for the redelivery of a package. And it was for a small amount, less than £2, which he did. He filled in his details and his bank account details. But what that did was give the scammers his bank account details, and that enabled the next payment for £27, and then ultimately led on to giving the scammers enough details to commit the much bigger fraud.
Gosh, I didn't know there was that link, and it's such a simple start to such a huge crime. Do we know anything about the accounts into which the monies were paid?
Yes, what we see very often is the money's moved into an initial account before being moved through multiple accounts within the UK and then eventually moved to accounts abroad. So the scammers are trying to move the money into multiple accounts in order to make it more difficult for police and banks to recover the money for the victims, which is really difficult.
When we look at the woman's situation now, she was given a number by the scammers to call her bank to clarify the legitimacy of the transfer they'd asked her to make. But this too was fake, so how did they do that?
So this is very simple. What the scammers do there is they remain on the line. So the lady in this call thought she had hung up on the scammers and started a new call, but in fact the scammer was still on the line. Whenever she redialed on a different number, she was still talking to the same scammer and was still connected to that. And we have seen instances where the scammers even record banking call messages, so it sounds as if you're talking to your own bank, but in fact you're talking to a criminal.
Goodness me. Now, I know you're keen to give us some advice, and by the sound of all of that, we need it if we ever find ourselves in a similar situation.
Absolutely. There's some really simple things that we can do in order to protect ourselves from these scams. First of all, what I would say is these scams often start with a call or a text message, and these text messages are being used to get simple personal or financial information. But legitimate companies won't send you text messages in order to get those personal or financial information. So don't open any links that you receive by text message. Go to the internet yourself and do your own research to find the legitimate website of your bank or your building society or someone that's looking for information. If you do get a phone call and you're worried about who that person is or whether it's a genuine call, hang up immediately. And remember, banks will never ask you for personal or financial details over the phone. Nor will they ask you to move money between accounts. If you're concerned about a call that you've received, hang up that call and use a different phone. That prevents them from staying on the line. And if you have any difficulties or concerns whatsoever, you can always check the number through a legitimate source, through the bank, or go into the bank yourself. And don't use any number that has been given by someone that has rang you.
And then there's Scamwise NI. That is more information.
Absolutely. Scamwise NI is a partnership and has lots of really helpful tips and hints on how to protect yourself and also what to do if you become the victim of a scam. And you can find useful information at nidirect.gov.uk/ScamwiseNI.
Gerard, thank you very much indeed for your advice and indeed for your time tonight. Derval.
With pubs and clubs resuming normal service after the lifting of restrictions, police are seeing increasing numbers of assaults being reported to them. Tonight, we've got appeals for 2 separate incidents in Ballymena and Belfast. Let's start tonight with Belfast. It's the early hours of Saturday, the 31st of July last year. A group of people have left a nightclub and are standing on the street at Donegal Square East in Belfast. A man in a black polo shirt is seen on CCTV talking to a group of people. He can be seen moving between groups for some time. Suddenly, he punches another man in the head who falls back and collapses to the ground. The man in the polo shirt then appears to kick the man. He has moved away and remains at the scene talking to some other people. The man who has been punched remains on the ground for a short period of time before being led away from the scene. He was taken to hospital where he was treated for a broken jaw and dislodged teeth. Inspector Pete Cunningham is helping us with this one. Pete, how is that injured man now?
Derval, I've spoken with the male involved today. He's reporting significant injury in the area of the jaw, but thankfully recovering well.
I'm glad to hear that. Remind us where this happened, when and where.
This happened in the early hours of the 31st of July last year in the area of Belfast City Centre in Donegal Square East.
And from the footage, Pete, you have a description of the man seen throwing the punch.
Yes, the male's seen to have short black hair and be wearing a black polo shirt with a motif on it, and as well as that wearing blue jeans and believed black shoes as well.
Well, we'll have a look at that other assault we mentioned, this time in Ballymena.
It's closing time at a Ballymena nightclub on Saturday the 12th of February this year, and a young man's among the crowd leaving the premises.
We know that at 1 a.m, the young man makes a phone call to a family relative to ask for a lift home following his night out in Ballymena town. He agreed to meet the lift in the Bally area of Ballymena, and he started to walk that direction. While his relative travels to meet him, he makes his way through the town towards Harryville Bridge. We know that he eventually made his way onto Queen Street at the edge of the town here.
That's the last memory of the night the young man will have.
At the same time, a man and a young woman are on the street.
What happens next is unclear, but will have huge consequences for the young man.
An eyewitness reports hearing a lot of shouting and screaming in the street. A man who was not wearing a top was seen with the young woman, standing over the young man who was lying on the footpath, motionless. Police officers and the ambulance service arrive shortly after 1:40 a.m. and were met with a very traumatic scene. There was a huge amount of blood on the ground, and the young male was drifting in and out of consciousness.
He has lacerations to his face and head and injuries to his ribs and back. He's taken to Antrim Area Hospital, where he's treated in resus.
We believe he was assaulted. Based on the injuries that he has sustained, the amount of blood at the scene, it would be consistent with a serious assault.
Inspector Adrian Bryan joins us for this appeal. Adrian, it's a shocking incident. How is the young injured man now?
I spoke to him yesterday, and he's actually still receiving physiotherapy for the injuries that he sustained that night. He's lucky to be alive. He
really is. And just remind us, Adrian, where and when did this incident happen?
This incident took place on the morning of the 13th of February 2022, roughly at around 1:45 in the morning, and it occurred on the Queen Street area of Ballymena.
And you have a description of the suspect?
Yes. He was stocky build, bare-chested, and described as late teens or early 20s.
And instead, Adrian, lucky to be alive, what would you say to those who were involved in this incident?
I would say if you recognise yourself from the descriptions given here tonight, please come forward to the police. Or if you've witnessed anything in the Queen Street or even Ballymena Town Centre on that night, please come forward to Crime Stoppers with your information.
Thanks a million, Adrian. Now, Pete, both of these examples, Ballymena and Belfast, sadly are examples of violence that can and does happen. But I know that another concern that you have relates to disagreements often between two individuals where a punch is thrown and just the consequences of that single punch.
Absolutely. I think it's a really important message that incidents such as these, if you become involved in them, may result in serious injury or indeed death, and will have significant impact on your life going forward.
Absolutely. I know you've seen many examples of it. Pete and Adrian, thank you both very, very much. If you can help with information about either of these assaults, here's a reminder of how to get in touch.
You can call Crime Stoppers now, and remember it's completely anonymous on 0800 555 111. That's 0800 555 111. Or go online, crimestoppers-uk.org. crimestoppers-uk.org. That explosion at an ATM next, where one man's attempt to get at the money inside caused thousands of pounds worth of damage.
Shortly before 1 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday the 1st of March, a man in a black jacket and grey tracksuit bottoms approaches an ATM on the Ballysillan Road in Belfast. He spends some time at the machine, coming back and forth to it several times over the next few minutes. At one point he can be seen and heard striking the ATM with a weapon. Roughly 10 minutes after arriving, the man appears to attach an explosive device to the ATM. He ignites the fuse, walks away, and the explosion is caught on CCTV. He returns to the ATM but is unable to retrieve any of the money inside. He leaves the scene, possibly escaping through Ballysillan Park. While the contents of the ATM remained intact and no money was retrieved, the explosion caused so much damage that the ATM had to be replaced at a cost of £19,000.
Detective Inspector Kyle Corrigan is back with us. And Kyle, first, this man's lucky to be alive, isn't he?
He is, yes. He was very close to the blast when it went off, as you can see from the video. And whilst he didn't get away with any money, he's caused significant damage to the ATM and to the area around the ATM to the tune of £19,000. It's also caused significant disruption to the local community in that they can't use that ATM during that period of time.
Absolutely. Now, you can hear the sound of the explosion on the CCTV.
Yes, you can. This is the Ballysillan Road. It's a residential area, and I would believe that there'd be people who would have been hearing that noise at that time. And I would ultimately ask them if they have seen this man or they are aware of the identity of this man to make contact with Crime Stoppers to let us know who it is. And
you have a quick description of him for us?
The man is 5'10" to 5'11" and skinny build. He was wearing a loose-fitting black jacket, grey tracksuit bottoms, black footwear and black gloves.
Well, Kyle, thanks very much indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you.
And if you have any information about this man, the Crime Stoppers number and web address are on your screen now.
Thanks, Wendy. Next up, we have a case of theft caught on CCTV.
A blue Volkswagen Touran estate car pulls into a West Belfast petrol station forecourt at 10 to 6 on the evening of the 2nd of December 2021. The driver gets out, puts on a pair of disposable gloves and fills the car with diesel. When he's finished, he enters the shop and goes to the till. Here he tells the cashier that he thought he had the money to pay, but now realises he doesn't. He states that he has no way to pay for the £82.28 worth of fuel. He spends several minutes talking to the cashier, even flashing an ID, and providing what the police now believe is a fake name. He takes a copy of the receipt and promises to return to the shop shortly and pay for the fuel. But the man has not returned and has not yet made any attempt to pay for the fuel, The police later discovered that the car he filled with the diesel had been fitted with false number plates.
Again, some very clear CCTV here of the man involved. He's described as being 5'8", a stocky build, wearing a beanie hat, a dark navy top, white shirt, denim jeans and dark trainers. And here's the car he was driving. And remember, police believe it had been fitted with false number plates. It's a blue Volkswagen Touran Estate. And if you recognise the man, police are keen to identify him. Wendy.
Northland in Carrickfergus in the early hours of Saturday the 5th of February this year. CCTV shows a man walking along the road. He appears to be scratching the side and bonnet of a car with an implement. When police were called, they discovered 9 cars were damaged in a similar way. They were all parked on the same street. Do you know anything about this incident? This map shows the area where the cars were parked, Northland to Oakwood Road in Carrickfergus. Or maybe you know the person seen on CCTV. The man is wearing a black padded coat with a white emblem on the left breast, dark skinny joggers and dark trainers. Next, police want to speak to 2 people seen on CCTV in the Stranmillis area of Belfast in relation to hate crime, and some viewers might find these images offensive. In the early hours of Thursday the 2nd of December last year, a man and a woman approach a church on the Stranmillis Road, Belfast. The woman has in her hand a can of spray paint, which she uses to paint graffiti onto the front of the church building. She's joined by the man who stands beside her, looking up and down the street, while the woman continues to paint the graffiti. About a minute and a half later, the woman walks away with the man. Police are treating this as a hate crime because of the nature of the graffiti left on a place of worship. Here's a shot of the 2 people seen in that CCTV. If you recognise either, get in touch with Crime Stoppers. Police take cases of hate crime here very seriously. Derval.
For many, the arrival of warmer, brighter evenings means one thing. It's bike season. And we joined a group of bikers who signed up for the PSNI's Bike Safe workshop to learn valuable tips on staying safe on our roads.
The busiest time for motorbikes on the roads is March through to September. And during those months, the PSNI run Bike Safe workshops for the general public. There'll be 15 held this year.
You're into the left-hand bend, bit of a greasy surface on the road, you've got a private entrance to the right, then you're into a right-hand bend. The number of hazards that are there. Bike Safe is a way that we as advanced police motorcyclists are trying to pass on some of the skills that we've learned through our courses and work to the general motorcycling public, skills that we know will help keep you alive out there on the road. It is unbelievable how many motorcyclists don't use their eyesight. So the first thing you want to do is get the head up. And you're not looking at the bit of road in front of you, you're looking on down the road.
Our plan this year, me and a couple of mates are heading down to Cork. I thought the more training I get, the better it's going to be for me. You've got to take action to protect yourself. Because it's all very well, if you're in the right, but you're still the guy lying in hospital, it doesn't matter. You've got to be safe, you've got to avoid the collisions. And that's the sort of thing that we're learning today.
Unfortunately, we're currently experiencing a very steep trend. We had just 3 fatalities in 2019, which grew to 9 in 2020, and tragically last year it has grown again to 14. That's a quadrupling in just 2 years. We're still seeing the principal 3 issues, which is issues around cornering, junctions and overtaking. The Bike Safe workshop seeks to address all 3 of those. Junctions are a particular area of concern. Quite often there we have a car driver who has not checked again and hasn't seen you. Make sure that you have your headlight on. Modern bikes should do that automatically, but some of the other older ones, you need to activate your switch.
There are 2 elements to the Bike Safe workshop, the classroom session and the on-road session, where police advanced motorcyclists take participants out, analyse their riding and stop at intervals to give tips.
When we're talking about overtakes, just be careful we're not getting sucked up too close to something. But a wee blue car just coming in the coast road there and you're about half a second behind them. What we tend to do is hold that 2 seconds back, and it may sound silly, but only a fool breaks the 2-second rule.
You're never too old to learn things on the road. You certainly can get complacent, lose concentration, but the potential danger is always around the next bend, basically. This has really helped today.
We're at that time of year where people are potentially bringing their bikes out of the garage for the first time. So we need to be checking the bike, starting from the front and working our way back. First thing that's most important is tyres. Make sure and inflate them according to the manufacturer's recommended pressures. You should pay particular attention to what is the right-hand side of the tyre. This side here tends to wear out faster quite often than the middle or this, because we ride on the left-hand side of the road, and because you take a right-hander generally quicker, and our roundabouts, this can wear out. You want to check your brake pads in here, that the thickness is fine. Obviously we've got our lights, which you will check. Oil levels, brake fluid, clutch fluid, etc. at the front. Coming your way to the back, if you have a bike that is chain driven, obviously you're checking for the tension of your chain. The slack within the chain should be specified by the manufacturer. Make sure it is well lubricated. On a shaft drive bike, obviously to make sure that you have the correct amount of oil within the system. Obviously this year we have road racing returning. We're going to have an awful lot of people coming to the north coast, so we would urge those bikers to please take care on those roads. We're going to have bigger volumes of motorcyclists on the road as well, so we'd even encourage local motorists to take that into account, and always check again for a biker at a junction.
I'm joined now by Constable Trevor Kirk, who we saw in that film. Trevor, we know so many people here absolutely love their motorbikes, but as with everything, there are greater risks involved.
Yeah, motorcycling is a great hobby. It's very popular in Northern Ireland, but it is risky.
And talk to us, because we know that motorcyclists are at a much higher risk of serious injury or even death on the roads.
Motorcyclists make up about 1% of licence holders, but they account for almost 19% of all fatalities, so it's hugely disproportionate. They're very vulnerable road users.
And just talk us through the number of deaths. We just see on the screen there, from 3 in 2019 to 14 in 2021, almost 5 times as many deaths. That's a shocking statistic.
Absolutely. You're 38 times less likely to survive a road traffic collision if you're on a bike than if you're in a car.
Yeah, they're so much more vulnerable. But your bike safe workshops that you've been part of for, I think, 6 years now, are designed to help motorcyclists improve their skills. What can they get out of these workshops?
The Bike Safe Workshop's designed to work with bikers in a very informal environment to show how advanced riding techniques can help their skills and help them avoid ending up becoming one of those statistics.
Absolutely. And how can people get information about your upcoming workshops?
All the information on Bike Safe's on bikesafe.co.uk.
That's absolutely fantastic. Thanks a million, Trevor.
Thank you.
And that is nearly all we have time for tonight. Here's a reminder of just some of the appeals the police want your help with. That aggravated burglary in East Belfast. Do you know who was involved? Assault outside a Belfast nightclub. Do you know this man? Or perhaps you know who was behind the blast at this ATM on Belfast's Ballysillin Road. Staff at Crime Stoppers are standing by now to take your calls on these and any of the crimes featured on tonight's show. And remember, when you call them, you do so in complete anonymity.
Well, that's it for tonight, and indeed for the current series of Crime NI. We hope to see you again in the autumn.
In the meantime, on behalf of the whole production team and Crime Stoppers, we'd like to thank everyone at the Police Service of Northern Ireland who's helped to make the show.
And we'd especially like to thank you at home for watching and for calling in. The information you have shared has led to identifications and arrests, solving a huge range of crimes right across Northern Ireland.
Remember, Crime Stoppers are always there to take your call. So until we see you again, take care and stay safe.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.